pick can be the best. And I'll add one other piece to this that I wasn't doing the math on until recently. We talk a lot about transitions from your starter to your backup, one guy grooming another guy. Tyrod Taylor's style of football is not terribly dissimilar to Baker Mayfield's. Baker is a more talented player, but when we are talking about if you are going to have an offense built around the guy who you signed to come in and start this year, theoretically Tyrod, but hope Baker takes over maybe at some point in the year, you're not going to have to drastically change the offense the way, for example, the Texans did when they go from Tom Savage to Deshaun Watson. Tyrod and Baker share some similarity skill set.
One thing, though, that you didn't calculate was John Dorsey hadn't picked no bad quarterbacks. So he's new at it. Not new at being a general manager, but he's new to Cleveland. So he doesn't have that past buyer's remorse that maybe someone else in the organization that's been there longer, the owner there.
So he could be influenced by past picks, which is great.
And he went with the best guy. You know that because he has the top pick. He doesn't have to make any excuses, and he's the only general manager that had the pick of all the players. So everyone else would be like, yeah, I got the guy that I wanted. Yeah. But the only one that we know to be true is John Dorsey because he had the first pick.
We know they have Tyrod Taylor. We understand that the way the game plan is probably going to work is Tyrod will come in and start a couple weeks. Maybe like what Chicago did last year with Trubisky, he comes in a couple. Is there any scenario whereby which he could impress this team enough where Baker Mayfield starts for the Cleveland Browns this coming season?
Absolutely. 100% chance.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Anyone that had one of these 5 quarterbacks selected, if you struggle, they will be in the game. And you can go from the top of the list of Baker Mayfield to number 32 with Lamar Jackson. I believe that all these guys in the new NFL, the future is right now. So, yes, they will say all the right things. Yes, I don't want these guys to play, but all 5 of them are in situations that I believe that they will see the field in some capacity their rookie year.
And if you're good enough, even if you're not the first overall pick, we saw Russell Wilson go from 3rd overall pick to starting week 1. I would imagine of these 5 quarterbacks taken, 1 or 2 of them will start week 1 of this season, and I would imagine 4, if not all 5, will start at some point this season.
Okay, so moving a little further down, you have 4 quarterbacks that went in the top 10. It's unprecedented, and it's very impressive, and it says a lot about the quarterback class coming out this year. Which of these 4 guys, and you can include Lamar Jackson if you will, who was in the first round, which of these guys do you think is best set up from their perspective and from the team's perspective to succeed this year?
I think they're very unique situations, all 5 of them. I'll go to number 32 as far as Lamar Jackson. Ozzie Newsome, the great general manager, that's his last first-round pick. He trades back up into the first round and gets Lamar. I believe that's a great transition into the future. I believe it's a good situation for him where he does not have to play right now. Joe Flacco is the starter, but in 2018 is the last year that Joe Flacco has any money that's guaranteed. Yep. So I think that that's a great transition for Lamar there. The best situation to me is Josh Rosen. And communicating with the general manager of Arizona Cardinals, Steve Keim, last night, and knowing that they knew exactly what they got. They got the best pure passer in the draft. He has no mechanical flaws that they have to change. He's a 3-year starter, so they like that fact. He's a 2-year captain. They like that. And his intellect and his overall curiosity, they thought that to be an asset. They also, you can make the comparison a lot like Larry Fitzgerald. He's a very inquisitive person. He's a very worldly person. He travels around the world. He's always asking questions, even from a football standpoint. So there are some similarities to some of the players that they have there. And sitting behind Sam Bradford, one of the best passers in the NFL as far as accuracy. Also, Sam's a great locker room guy. They got great chemistry there in Arizona. Josh Rosen, to me, is set up to be the best.
And Rosen doesn't have to worry about one of your concerns with him, which is, can he play in the cold? You're in a division where
he's very fortunate to be able to stay on the West Coast.
Staying on the West Coast. You're
playing inside.
10 games at a minimum every year via your division and your home games that are either indoors or in warm weather. So I agree with everything you said about Josh Rosen. I want to talk about the other Southern California quarterback for a moment, Sam Darnold. I don't know if you can say anybody that gets picked as quarterback for the Jets, they are best positioned from their own career standpoint. But I will say this about the Jets. The Jets fans went into this past football season rooting for close losses because they wanted the #1 overall pick to take Sam Darnold. They ended up winning enough. They got the number 6 overall pick. They made what now looks like a very shrewd trade to move up
Only
to number,
now.
Yep.
And now it looks like a very shrewd
You're
trade
right.
to move up to number 3
To get the guy they
to take the
wanted.
guy that I believe they would have taken at number 1 overall. So if you're a Jets fan, you you finished the season with the 6th overall pick, Jenna, and you got the guy you would have taken number 1 overall.
And the Jets have in Josh McCown, one of the very, very smart, one of the great guys. You're talking about a great backup for a young player who's not going to be intimidated. A guy who's going to be invited in. Josh is going to show him everything about the NFL, everything about the Jets organization. It's not as if he has some ego. So it's a great place for a young quarterback to be in, a guy that's been in the league over 15 years. It's a great transition. I believe Josh's leadership will help Sam there.
All right, we got 3 hours to talk about the draft with people coming on to help us, even though we're perfectly fine doing it ourselves. We just wanted to share the love. Coming up, let's get back into it. Did the Giants make the right move drafting Saquon? That's next on First Things First.
Did you say you talked to Steve Keim last night?
I got stuff to do, man.
Get you from the war room?